It's not often we enter the second day of a stage and already have a match with two teams we're really concerned about, but that feels like the vibe we come into this matchup with. Oxygen and Los, after just one day, are already in precarious positions, and by the end of this game, one of them is guaranteed to look a lot more unstable. Welcome back to day 2 of Stage 2. I'm Jacob, he's Laxing, he's Foxay, and the reason we're saying that is because neither one of you guys were really that high on OXG, but you were even lower on where Los sat when the stage began.
Yeah, and both teams yesterday, one team played a lot harder of a team, and that would be Oxygen playing against Space Station. LG and Los already played each other last stage on the same map, same end result, so it wasn't a surprise to me to see that way the play that it did. Obviously, kudos to LG, they looked a lot better, but for Oxygen here, I mean, they had the harder opponent.
Yeah, Los just hasn't had anything for us to hold on to prove to us that they are worth investing in. But OXG, on the other hand, they've been around, they've been at events, I made events, you made events with OXG. They have had really good starts, but they just can't close it out within this last year and a half. And unfortunately, it's just not something that I can believe in anymore.
Both teams played on Consulate against teams of varying skill levels yesterday, and both of them lost, which means now after just the first week, someone is getting off to an 0-2 start, which isn't insurmountable. That's something that can come back from. I mean, Beast Coast came back from an 0-3 deficit and still won a major off of it.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter where you end in the standings as long as you were in the top 6.
Yeah. Yep.
Obviously, you make it to playoffs, you have one extra chance besides going to the LCQ. So that's what everyone wants to aim for, is just making that playoff spot.
Playoffs is definitely the goal here. I mean, just because you even last, first, second, that doesn't mean that you're first and second in playoffs. So it's just a matter of getting to playoffs and then really ramping up and excelling your pace.
Yeah, but you know who got in top 2 last stage? OXG.
Oh, God. Keep on beating that dead horse until they start yelling at us in DMs about it. We'll talk about Los first, mostly because it still feels like we're at square one with this team. They got to show us something before we really have any cause to believe in them, and we still have yet to see it even with 2 new guys after 1 map.
Yeah, yesterday, individually, they played better. Statistically, everyone on the team played better than their Stage 1 team. But the 2 biggest issues from Los is their lack of communication and their lack of helping each other. It's just something that they haven't had enough time to gel on with each other. And unfortunately, for them, they need to be faster at it. In this clip, we see that Luminosity is going for a fast take. Now, Los says, oh, they're going for a CEO take. So even though they get some kills over by CEO, they have no idea that the plant is going on right behind them. So they get the kill, but the plant's already been done. Now, they work together. We have to run out on the guy on Repel. Let's 2v1 him. The trades just don't go in their favor. They're unable to trade him. Sexy Cake, we need you. But where's Sexy Cake? Sexy Cake was downstairs running out of yellow to kill a player on Repel in CEO. He had no idea that the player was on Projector Repel. The communication, unfortunately, just isn't there. And when they do have the communication, they're not able to capitalize off of it.
They had a 3-3 half when they were on defense, but I mean, because of overall spacing problems in that first half, they allowed a 3K Nitro Cell to happen in the midst of just where they were positioned. Then they switch over second half, and they lose every round on Consulate defense. In this meta, that's baffling.
I mean, it worries me because we just touched up on it yesterday that they're bringing 2 experienced players into this roster to help facilitate, help get these rookies caught up, and just to make the team better. And then we find themselves, again, going against LG, a familiar opponent nonetheless, and they are still performing at that same pace of just not looking good.
Yeah, I mean, it is the baby steps of a team that's slowly trying to get better. Individually, it looks like everyone's a little bit more comfortable. They were able to keep in the gunfights with Luminosity, but for helping each other, the strategical side, which is something they had in Stage 1, it looks like they're slacking on it. And you're right, having 2 new experienced players, you wouldn't want that to happen.
No.
If something happens and there's nobody else to get there to trade, there's no fail-safe, I mean, you're just going to lose the round.
And that's the thing, there's no excuse for it though. When you have that experience, that should be quickly developed and quickly understood, and the fact that it's not, again, that is extremely worrisome for me for this roster.
See, we know the narrative about Los is that they're currently in the trenches, still looking for a ladder upwards, but the same thing can kind of be said for OXG. Even though they took a harder opponent to the same map and got more rounds, that seems more like proof that Space Station's defenses on Consulate are just too airtight for this team to get through.
Yeah, and where Oxygen went wrong entirely yesterday, in my opinion, is they didn't look like a team. Where we were seeing success out of them was because they were winning gunfights, but that's that's not all Sieges. It's not about gunfights. It's being able to work together. It's about being able to be coordinated, and that's just not what we saw against SSG.
Yeah, OXG has an immense amount of firepower, but when it comes to teams that are able to battle them strategically, they just don't have a response. And it scares me because OXG was all about changing the identity of the team into being fast, adaptable, and aggressive. But somebody has to make those calls. And currently, it doesn't look like anybody is able to make those calls. They just see an obstacle, and instead of trying to go around it, they just try to go through it. And sometimes it works. Maybe against Los it'll work, but against a more strategical team, it won't.
Absolutely, and there's one player that I do want to talk about because we haven't been able to talk about him a whole lot as of last stage and even coming into this stage. It is Yaga, the man, the myth, the legend. I saw him a long time ago and brought him onto that OXG roster, but we haven't been able to talk about him a lot because during Stage 2 of 2023, he was the highest rated player in North America. Then to immediately go into this most recent stage, last year's stage of 2024, he was the worst rated. That is a huge decline. That was by far his worst performance yet in his entire career. Now, maybe this is, maybe now it's Stage 2. Now we see that performance to exceedingly go to the top and we see him to be the #1. I don't know, but at least as of yesterday, he did go 9-11. That was the best on his team. But again, I want to see this consistency from Yaga because I know the player that he can be.
We talked before we actually went live about the idea that everybody on OXG is a gunner. Everybody can really play super hard. And it's one thing to talk about what these guys used to be. It's another thing to see them in situations like this where we know that they can play a lot better. And just if they were at that same level right now, then his team would be doing a lot better.
Absolutely. And Yaga's a smart player. And this clip here is him just grabbing a quick 4K nonetheless. But like, he has the skill, he has the mentality, he has the playmaking abilities to make this roster excel, but we just have not been able to see that, especially in that last stage of him being the lowest rated. I personally want to see Yaga at the top again, performing where I know he can be.
I mean, the best way to connect all of these players is working on the crossfires and working on the trades. And we commended them in Stage 1 when they were on that 5-0 streak. That's exactly what they were doing. When they wanted to address something, they attacked it. But now it's Stage 2. It's a whole new stage. And we heard what Ashen said after playing them yesterday. It doesn't look like they've changed much since replacing Dream. It doesn't look like there is much innovation on their side. And obviously, when you have a team of gunners and they want to go with their method that they've had since XSET, I understand. But when that happens, who are you to look at? You have to look at the coaches to be able to guide you.
We've heard what the guys on the desk think. Now let's hear what Yog thinks real quick about how his team is shaping up for Stage 2. It might surprise you.
What's up, guys? I'm Evan, also known as Yaga. I play for OXG Sports. So in the offseason, we obviously played the Gamers 8 quals. We did not make it. We played that with Hat, though, instead of Dream. The roster change has been going good. Dream's a fantastic player. It's just not what we needed for the team. And Hat's been filling that role, I believe, pretty well. In the offseason, we've been really working on our map pool, making sure we have a stronger map pool. Obviously, we did pretty good in the best of ones and then fell off pretty hard in the best of threes. Our expectations are super high, obviously. We expect to get first. We expect to do very well this stage. I mean, everyone's going to say that, obviously, but I truly do believe that we are looking really good going into this stage. I would describe the OXG play style as fluid. That's a big thing we've been working on, is just our ability to adapt and change the way we play depending on our opponent. The contenders to win the league, I'll obviously include myself, our team. It's honestly, it's really hard to say. I feel like the league's really competitive right now. It's much more competitive than it's ever been, like the past year or so. It's honestly impossible to call some games. Any given day, one team could beat the other. Beast Coast did great last stage. M80 are good. SSG, it's honestly Sonics will be good. It's really hard to say. I would say OXG's goals for this season are to really focus on the playoffs and make sure that we are performing in the playoffs when it really matters. Obviously, doing good in the best of ones is great, but our main focus is just the playoffs and making sure we get to the event so we can show what we've been working on.
Everybody from OXG is obviously very excited about this stage. Gomez even believes that this is the best that they've ever looked. They have a lot of innovation that they want to play, but I just don't believe in it. I hate to make it personal, but after getting rid of me, trying to switch the ideology, that's fine. But getting rid of Dream, you're losing a player that is motivating everybody on the team to not only be better outside of the server, but inside of the server. So to say that all of them are very excited and it's the best that they've ever looked and it's exactly where they want to be, we just don't see that. Because when it comes to the server, who's calling the shots, who's holding each other accountable, and who's forcing each one to play the right way?
Yeah, and I think, you hit the nail on the head right there. Like, losing you, the IGL, the long-known IGL on that roster when we were playing and obviously continuing so forth, I don't know who's calling now. And especially with Dream being gone, like you said, that was their backbone. That was someone who's going to hype them up, bring them up, lift them up, just make sure everyone's on top of one another. And now when I look at this roster of a bunch of young guys, I don't really know who's going to be that vocal point. If obviously the coaches can't talk during the game, because you need someone doing that during the game, but I personally don't see any of those 5 stepping into that role and being that voice.
Yeah, and that's not to take anything away from Hat. Hat is a formidable player. I know he tried to play the support role, and Diaz has also played support roles. And of course, they are fundamentally great players. But everybody on this team doesn't really have a specific role. It's about playing in the moment. But the issue with playing in the moment is you're going to get to a wall, and somebody has to make a call. But if you don't have a person that you really believe in or systems to fall to, then it's only going to be chaotic. And so far, we haven't seen a consistent chaos from OXG.
You're saying you don't think that they have a rock. You're saying you were that rock. You're saying Dream was that rock. What specifically do you look for in a player that gives them that quality that could maybe ground OXG to do better?
You just need to have, you don't necessarily need a rock, because if you look at previous teams that love thriving in the chaos, if something goes wrong, you've practiced it outside of the server to have fail safes or responses. But OXG doesn't look like they have that. It looks like they have an initial entry, and if something goes wrong, they just try to shoot through it. There's no real playstyle swap. There's not much.
Sure. You got to have someone that can reel everyone back in when things aren't working, when things are going chaotic. That's the biggest thing that I don't think Oxygen has. And whether that was me doing it, or whether that was you doing it, or whether that was Dream doing it, I still don't see any of those 5 being able to reel everyone back and be like, hey, let's focus up. We're getting way overzealous.
How much does Labs sway your idea on whether Los or OXG actually have the upper hand of this game? We've been mega critical for this desk, rightly so, for the things that we've seen, but what does Labs tell you here?
Labs is a good map for OXG. They do love practicing on that map, but it's a map that has so much, I can't think of the word, but it has so much that you can't, I can't think of the word. So much
space.
It just has so
much space. It has so much.
Is it a ton of mini games?
So much untested ground. Well, we got it.
Okay, we got
it has so
there.
much untested ground, and anything can happen, especially on defense, because it's such a big map. And it's one of those maps that when it comes down to attacking, you have to know where you want to go, because you can quickly lose time when you're executing. And OXG is a team that doesn't really conserve their attacking time.
Well, what worries me for Los specifically is their map pool is horrible. They only found 1 win last stage, so like we don't have a lot.
Do we even remember what map that was on?
Consulate.
Oh, there you go.
It was Consulate.
You're right.
We literally saw it again. But no, like their map pool isn't strong, so I don't know what this is going to look like for them. Obviously, they could, completely surprise us. But like Fox said, there is a lot of leadership in this that you can lose track of time. You can lose track of your setup. So it is going to come down to those experienced players of Sexy Cake to really rally everyone together and be like, okay, this is what we need to do. This is what we need to focus on, and execute it in a way that makes sense and not just spearheading something and then giving it all to not actually gain anything.
You can have a good amount of individuality come out on Nighthaven, especially on defense, but I'm really looking for those attacks. And which team would I say is the more coordinated on attack currently? I would say OXG has the more firepower, but I really do think Los has the better team on attack.
You're wrong, absolutely, and that's why I chose Oxygen.
Okay, fair enough.
You should hear all the arguing that these guys are doing in the back about that stuff. At least for right now, Los will start on defense, so maybe what you said about OXG being the better attacking team will mean that this first half is just a little bit more interesting. 0-2 is not an insurmountable thing to come back from. It just doesn't really look all that pretty. So Sam Stewart and Carter Hannafeld are going to have front row seats to what might very well be a car crash.
Yeah, 0-2 is certainly not comfortable, but for OXG, neither is 4-0, unfortunately, to starts to the stage. As last year, that was not enough, as Yogg mentioned in the interview. Once they got to the best of 3, second in the groups was not enough to translate into best of 3 success. And for the 3rd stage in a row, they failed to qualify for the major. They bring in Hat Sam, and we're only one best of 1 in, but it's a lot of the same stuff we saw last stage, which is who is calling the shots and who is the man in charge.
Yeah, it's a little treacherous, but I will say this at a bare minimum, right? The Space Station roster is a good testing ground, a good proving ground. They've been doing a lot of their own soul searching in recent history with changes from Iconic and that kind of stuff. They're trying to get everybody up to speed in their system and trying to make the most of it, right? I think they got a really good roster. They went max regulation with those guys yesterday. Now, I will say this. I am 100% on the same page as Foxay when it comes to Oxygen's kind of loose cannon moments. There's a lot of times when you see them kind of hit this wall, like you said, and they don't really have an ability to make a quick adjustment there or have systems to fall back on to make it to where these processes are easy for them. So I'm excited to see if that's something that they can try and implement this stage. Maybe there's something where they just start to feel accustomed to a few pocket strategies that make them feel, that way. So we'll have to see exactly how they end up breaking things down. But, to bring it all the way back home, we have Nighthaven Labs in front of us here. And this is something that, Foxy touched on as well. It's a very open-ended book right now. We haven't really written the final chapter of Nighthaven Labs and really what is at the heart of this map and how pro players want to go about things. So there's a lot of different ways that they can go about things. There's a lot of, individuality that's still to be had on this map. So that's something that we could see Oxygen really lean into here. And we're going to see it right off the bat as well, Carter. This is what I'm most excited for, the Oxygen offensive half, and to see what they do with this.
I imagine similar to kind of what we saw on Clubhouse, but also what we see on Nighthaven pretty consistently, Deimos usually has a pretty big part to play on a lot of these attacks. There are quite a few soft floors below sites in the case of second floor, above sites in the case of basement right here, that you can find a lot of value with death mark trackers if you opt to go that way. Obviously, we see Yaga switch off of it in the prep phase, but it's also a map that, because it's so open, not only in terms of the possibilities it allows for, but the sheer size of the map, you can use a lot of different strategies. Dokkaebi can find a lot of effectiveness, find a lot of gaps very easily, but as we see OXG's lineup solidify, it's the Glaz and the Blitz. Seems like we're getting a little smoke on the breach action for this bottom floor site.
We'll have to see. Oxygen are being quick to try and pull the trigger downstairs here too. They've already got the Blitz in play. They're seeing if there's anything implemented on these walls. It really should just be the mute jammers, so it shouldn't even be too hard. And honestly, I don't even think they muted this wall, and they haven't. So this is going to be a very easy offense initially here for Oxygen, and this is what they want. This isn't something that you have to overcomplicate. Just go for the main line and see what happens.
Yeah, Gomez just walks in, goes to take space. He's able to take down Arthur as nobody from Los is able to react. Homemade in the vertical. Well, it's either made too late or used too late. Wizard not able to find any value from that. Just 14 damage done to Hat as that diffuser goes down. And Los is not fighting back. The Blitz has moved in. Gomez gets a second kill on the way out. Melee's Farius deep inside of the bomb site. And this retake seems like it's been killed in the crib. 3v4. Defenders stuck upstairs, stuck inside of the site, and OXG holding passive, holding strong. 4v2 now, C4 goes out. Nothing used to deny that plant, and used ineffectually for the retake as well. Not a good omen for Los, as they try to find some ground in their second game of the NAL.
Yeah, especially with the fact that we were praising them on the desk, especially there, is like, hey, they're kind of a bit more put together when it comes to strategical prowess. What are we doing with the walls here? This is such a main thing when it comes to the basement setup for labs. The majority of offenses want to try and exploit that area. A lot of them don't want to try and go for the full clear, at least as of now. We see it happen, obviously, but a lot of teams really just want to try and get that wall open and try and make a play through those big open spaces. And they practically just give them the keys to the castle, man. They're only running mute on defense. There's nobody else to really lock up the walls, and Wizard still has a mute jammer in pocket. That could at least delay a little bit of time, maybe make them try and engage with this mid-floor setup that you have going on, but instead, Oxygen completely circumnavigated. They go right through the wall immediately, like butter, and then they get a plant down through some smokes that completely, just soak up all of those angles that they have built up to try and stop that exact strategy. It just was not very well done from Los there, but Oxygen with an immediate identification, and nobody oversold it. It was very well done from them.
Yeah, when we've talked about, questioning, what kind of decision-making does this roster as a collective have, not individuals, but as a collective have, who can call those shots or what shots can they call? They call a strategy at the beginning of the round and execute it quite well. Now, was there a lot of resistance? No, but still takes a team of a certain caliber to create a plan and execute it pretty much flawlessly, and in all likelihood, probably better than I think they themselves figured that was going to go. So for OXG, you get the exact round you want to start out. Now we move to the upstairs position, where it'll be a bit slower, but it will be, like round one, breach focused to start. Try and open the IT wall, then likely looking over towards connector later on. And for Los, things look a lot better much earlier.
Yog's gonna get taken down, as you just stated. Wizard get that nice shot and make a nice little opener here for Lowe's. Maybe this will slow up Oxygen as well and keep them away from a more aggressive assault on this top floor. Some angles working their way in from Lowe's. It's a garage offense right now for OXG, but Lowe's have found themselves, specifically Wizard, doing it up with the TCSG.
Unfortunately, OXG looking to take these gunfights, but individually, nobody really able to trade that player as the kill comes from deep inside of the site. So you take garage control quick, but now you basically, you don't have to give it up, but holding it could find you over-investing on this one key position. Lowe's, if they just have their discipline, well, adequate, not even great, just adequate, you don't peek. 5v3, hold inside of the site. They'll send Gomez down below. OXG will send Gomez down below to try to make some of these defenders uncomfortable, but Lowe's have a winning hand. Playing it would probably be overstating the action Lowe's actually have to do to win round 2.
Good positioning there for Oxygen's cameras, at least to try and get that fight out for Gomez, but nothing really happens. Los instead, the site getting a lot done there past the bandit that we saw win that engagement downstairs. And just very well done from Los overall. I think they identified early on that Oxygen want to kind of be scrappy to start off their offensive side. And Wizard was like, well, what happens if I step up to the plate with a TCSG? Well, you get 2, don't you, Wizard?
Yeah, when they try to go for that rush, he just shuts it down with a couple well-placed shots. And OXG, I mean, to be fair, it's hard to adapt in a 3v5 in any situation, especially when so much was bet on taking that garage control and building it into something more that when that bet doesn't play off, you don't have a lot you can fall back on. So, fortunately for OXG, it was a pretty one-dimensional plan, and when the gunfights didn't go their way, neither did the round. All tied up, 2 rounds in already. Los will go down to the middle floor site over by Supply, but will basically still involve an almost entire full-throated hold of that top floor. So different site, different endpoint in all likelihood for OXG, but would not be shocked if we see something similar transpire, though maybe not on the garage side this time.
Yeah, honestly, this site really ends up being the most creative one in my mind when it comes to labs. There's a lot of different ways that you can go about things. Obviously, the biggest priority is the top floor. You're never not going to have that, but you can have a lot of different things going on, man. You can try and hold the full breadth of the map. You can have some roamers implemented downstairs, maybe somebody like a Solus or maybe something like a Pulse. We have Solus in this instance, but that doesn't mean that Farias is actually playing down there. It could be on this top floor just trying to get rid of a few drones, but we'll have to see. Those have implemented themselves very well on this top floor. I especially like that they brought the bandit just to try and delay things longer here as Oxygen try and deal with these problems that they've set up for them.
And we'll certainly just extract some resources. I think, yeah, both
Sexy
of these
Cake?
Selmas should be acquired by Sexy
Well
Cake.
done.
Yeah, pretty easy. I think, unfortunately, nobody from OXG actually on that window. Of course, there is the hole that the bandit could challenge from, but nobody on that window in turn to maybe look through and try and counter the bandit or toss a nade up there. Still a very hard position to deal with, especially with Sexy Cake aware of that window, but now you lost 2 Selma charges and only 1 hard breach canister to fall back on and 1 Selma remaining in your pocket. So if Sexy Cake's able to play up there, Sam, I mean, he can basically deny a plant through that window in B, which is the default position.
Yeah, and now it comes down to exactly what was being talked about on the analyst desk. Who's going to be the brainiac? Who's got the solution to the problem? Exactly, and that's the biggest thing, man. That's the difference maker in Rainbow Six Siege. When it comes down to moments like this, you have to have somebody, and it can be anybody in that moment. The whole team could be, full of smart individual players, but you need somebody that understands that deep strategy of Siege to be able to get you past moments like this. And right now, Oxygen's deferring. They're going down to the gunfights. They're reaching for straws, and that first straw is Gomez trying to make an arch here into the top floor, and he gets gunned down.
Not only does he get gunned down, I mean, he's face-checking that. He's slicing the angle progressively and then ends up over-peaking, which is entirely understandable. It didn't seem like he was operating with full intel. Somebody is obviously on the top floor, but the exact position, unclear. He loses his life. Diaz loses most of his HP, lurking on the opposite side of the map, now moving down below, right underneath the Thatcher, moving in.
Wow.
And again, no intel. Somebody's able to hop through and land that trade, but it's entirely on OXG trying their best to use their prowess in gunfighting to claw this round back. It's got them a 3v3. It's got them a tie game in round 3. But the bandit can still hold on. Darius might be unknown in this position, but OXG are just simply winning enough fights to will this round over the line. Still such low HP for Diaz, and And Sexy Cake stuck in this corner is easy pickings for him. OXG, come back! But basically the way that the desk said is one of the only ways they seem to be able to win these rounds.
Hey, and it's fair play. It really is. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, no matter what, if the round ticks up on your side, it is considered good, isn't it? Yes. So the biggest thing about that top floor assault, I mean, I think that's the best way to put it, is that they doubled down. I really like the fact that they were kind of just true to what they were going to go for. You know, the first iteration of that did not exactly go well. They end up losing a body inside of electrical, but everything past that, it's all Oxygen all day. They overwhelm the top floor hold of Los, and they take this round away from them. I mean, Los, for lack of a better term, they were perfectly set up on the top floor. There was really no way that Oxygen was going to try and take that away from them unless they won some very considerable gunfights, and that's exactly what they did. And you know, it goes back to what we were talking about in the previous game. Sometimes you just need some people that shoot really straight, and right there, Oxygen was shooting very straight.
And I think we could certainly commend them that as well. Like, after sort of the initial set of engagements don't go their way, we do see Yaga rotating around to the backside. We do see them taking it from a lot of different angles. So even though...
Yeah, stacking everything. They did a very good job of playing off of each other there. It wasn't, you know, hell in a handbasket. It wasn't scrambled.
Yeah, exactly. So even though we might hope to see a OXG sort of diversify their win conditions as the stage goes on, the fact that they are still able to make these kinds of plays and sure, maybe win rounds off gun skill, but still implement that strategy in a very intelligent way, it's good to see. We're going back down to basement, no glass, as you can see. But this site setup basically collapsed for Los. It was entirely non-existent to stop the push in from this breach. And with the Blitz to hop in, likely acquire control of that window, I think they're going to feel pretty safe to aim for a plant soon. Gomez will relay this info to the rest of his team. We might be looking at an execute momentarily.
Yeah, more than likely. And the other thing is you look across the board of guns that Los have available, you don't have a lot of things that are favorable inside of those long-range engagements that you might be taking downstairs. How unbelievably lucky from Legacy. That'll go down in his history as he decapitates Gomez while fully whited. That was truly impressive. And this has put a thorn in the side of Oxygen and their game plan. How do they try and act now that they've lost their blitz?
Especially now that Los have the man advantage, these roamers are feeling a lot more comfortable to pull back closer to the site, not seed the entire map, but certainly get close to these staircases to move back downstairs, which means you can't just run into the site at a minute 30 like maybe you were hoping to when it was a 5v5 and you had that blitz on the board. Pistol out, Arthur trying his best to deal with the hatches. He's brought the M870 as his primary, but Ferris is still holding on. One player goes for the peek, the Finka moving around the corner, but he'll fall back. This is the benefit of the 5v4. They've got that advantage. They can hold on, play it close. How much will OXG be able to react? C4 detonated, some damage done. But the ground is not slipping underneath their feet just yet. There's a winnable round in here.
Most definitely. We've got the time to try and get it done, too. All it takes is some good angle work on this top floor. We always talk about man advantages, but there's always map control that works into this as well. And Los, not exactly at the greatest of straits as long as this verticality gets ripped up. This basement is really difficult to hold down as soon as those angles work their way in. And Oxygen get 2 big kills. It's down to a 3 versus 3. Does Los know where this plant's going down? They do not. We're into the post.
Yaga down 2, so OXG with a good rotation, but now in a man deficit as a result. Hat gun up will move deeper into the site. One player around the corner, but Farius with the wraparound 2.
Oh!
One for the kill, one for the finisher. Newer's on the long angle, has got to keep this alive. 1 kill, down to 1v2. Headshot awaiting, maybe to stop this defuse, or counter defuse from going down. Put so low by the boss G, and the second shell does him in. It's a good rotation from OXG. I like that strategy. And it bears them nothing.
No, not a thing. And you know, it was very well done. Like I was talking about, they get those angles in. They're able to get some bodies down on the low side, as well as the post-plant positioning goes immediately punished by Los. It's practically Newers just standing out in a field waiting to see what happens as they take the duels off the door. And unlucky enough for him, he's not really able to match up the timing of the swings. Can't get a big kill there that would have more than likely cemented the round for them. But you know, it's not the LMG meta anymore, man. Newers is a different kind of guy, at least as of right now. So we'll have to see if maybe they can get things going for themselves here in this next round. But again, another one that is so close, but no cigar.
It still seems OXG are having some of those adaptations be a bit more successful, at least in achieving short-term objectives than we've seen before, able to make some good rotations, not only to get the kills and then win the round like we saw back in round 3 on Storage, but to rotate and get the diffuser down there. It's a good play, but unfortunate they're not rewarded for it. It at least goes to show that there is some solid calling there, and when the rounds go awry, by rotating their players and getting that individual skilled players like Newers into key positions, or Hat with the diffuser in key positions, OXG can make rounds winnable. Up to the second floor, so the first round, Los were able to win one round that, well, unfortunately, there wasn't a lot of other angles. It was entirely through Garage, and it was entirely dealt with there.
Also going to go for this extension again up towards the top floor. That does beg the question as to how does Auction really solve this? Got a deployable shield here too, and they have any tools to try and assist with this? They do. They have a Gone 6 in the pocket of Had, but that will require rotation, I do believe, for the Capitao. As of now, though, Oxygen looking to try and go for an assault on the top floor yet again here, but this one with a potential backstab working its way in from that blue stairwell. We'll just have to see what happens. Legacy knows that there's a player on Repel and that angle could be active. We'll get a hot mark on this player too, and a lot of damage on Legacy, but not enough to kill him. Usually the AK-12, you'd expect it to tear him apart there, but not this time around.
No, unfortunately, but the Ace certainly won't complain. You're able to push that player off the shield, do a lot of damage, and now open up the IT wall pretty quickly in the round, 1:15 seconds. That Deimos definitely the wild card for OXG this round. Obviously could go for the backstab, as you said, but if they also see that the IT side is a bit softer, could send him down below. Use those trackers, like I said at the beginning, that teams very commonly use. You've got the skeleton key to do that very thing as well. So it's likely going to be pretty heavy vertical presence for OXG to make these site players uncomfortable. As Newers cuts down Legacy, defenders might have to start thinking about rotating or getting aggressive.
Most definitely. Newers, although not able to lock up that last round, currently 7-2, so still getting on the scoreboard, at least in these rounds, making it matter most. They're going to get 2 big picks onto Los. Not both of them new, but now a double 4 new, so still showing up as he'll finally get shut down by Farius. But Oxygen have seemed to end up on the right side of history every single time when it comes to the frags, and this time will be no different. It's down to Sexy Cake. He's been marked by the Deimos, but not any longer. Doesn't matter, though. Gomez has a tracker on him, too, and that'll be all she wrote as Oxygen take the lead once again.
Don't flood into Garage, add some more angles, and overall looks like a pretty clean round from OXG. Take the lead again. It has been back and forth, but OXG winning that first round have been able to reestablish their lead each time they take a victory. Does that mean this will be a 3-3? Or is that just enough to get OXG over the line and potentially secure the 4-2 half on their attacking side? We'll just have to see, as Los have shown some good moments, but seemingly when OXG kind of put themselves in a difficult position. That second floor site the first time around, where it was entirely through Garage. And then you have the basement site, where the initial breach play doesn't really work, and Los are able to get the opening pick, pull back, and basically starve OXG for any control, any time, and any advantage. But when OXG are able to make the play, Sam, it just keeps seeing like Los collapse whenever OXG get that foothold, whether it's round 3 with the Glass, or round 1 with the Glass, round 3 when they're able to finally rotate on that second floor, and then that round as well when they're able to get all those angles. When Los are put to the test, they collapse extremely fast.
Yeah. Especially I think it's more or less when Oxygen are able to kind of cloak and dagger things a bit, right? When they don't exactly know where Oxygen's going to strike from, that's when they get the most bruises. That last round is a great representation of that. You know, it really wasn't the blue stairs that got activated first. It was Newers working in from, I believe, IT and just smoking people left and right. And that's what's complicated, you know, things for Los so far. Their identification of the overall strategy from Oxygen really hasn't been there in these moments where they've really wanted it to be. But we'll have to see if they can potentially right this ship here in round 6. For Oxygen now, down to trying to get the wall up. They're going to go for a strategy that we saw on Clubhouse, one that works extremely well
that's
up
crazy.
against Bandits, but Sexy Cake sticks it. He gets to the other side, and Sexy Cake, the risk versus reward in this position, it's not worth it, my friend, and you're going to get gunned down. The Bandit's gone, the Thatcher's gone too, so I guess the Bandit batteries are still going to persist, but I mean, just what an odd way for that to break down.
He's in a bit of difficult spot that close to the wall. Really like how OXG did that. I mean, of course, you got the Selma on the left side to bait out the Bandit, and then he's doing double duty by being prone and sitting right in front of that Mav hole. Really nice maximization of impact with.
I like maximization. That was better.
All right, like I'm just trying to live my life here, man. Just trying to get through the day. We're only a minute and a half in the round. It's 2 games in. I've been gone for like 3 months. Just leave me be. Leave me be. It's a 4v4.
Okay. All right.
Most definitely coming out the better in the early round with that kill onto Newers. Also, DS unfortunately losing one of those Selmas as he tossed it into an electrified wall. You can see them starting to stall, but with Gomez down below, I tried to highlight this last round and it ended up not mattering, but with this position, with these Deathmark trackers and no basement control held by Los, he is free reign to push Arthur out of the site, and you can see they have made the most of it so far. C4 goes out, but it gets Yaga, and there goes that impact you found. Gomez might be able to find one, but Hat is now by himself inside storage. Diffuser maybe, but how much is there to support him, especially with one Los player right around the corner?
Yeah, it gets a little difficult, especially when your position's known. You're stuck in behind this pillar, and what are you going to peek? Left or right? It's 50-50, and you got barrels on both ends. Now it's down to Diaz and Gomez, and one of them just sitting directly at the window. I mean, if somebody gets brayed, we could just see a quick swing here and a decision that could bring it down to a 2 versus 2. Could also make it a 3 versus 1. Gomez is going to try and find something for the offense. Is it going to be this close player? Who is it going to be? He's going to swing right into the shotgun. There's no way. This would be the craziest headshot you've ever seen in your life if he ends up winning this. He switches back to the AK. You know he has to pre-fire, but won't work out for him. I believe that's going to be all she wrote, the tail end of round 6. It's going to be a 3-3 as Legacy cleans up shop. And Los, I mean, for honestly all intents and purposes that we saw in that half, not a bad split for Night Haven Labs here.
No, it really does seem so far that, like, whenever a team, if OXG's initial thrust is able to work, obviously with one round is the exception, but if their initial thrust is able to work, they have great success. And Los seem to collapse really poorly. Rounds ending in 1v4s, 1v3s with most OXG members alive. But then if Los are able to repel that initial play, or make it difficult for OXG to actually get control inside of the map, they seem to be able to fight back very well, and it's OXG that struggles to adapt, struggles to find that ground to actually pressure the defense. In that particular round, sure, you're able to get the Bandit on the wall, but with the Thatcher gone, minimal hard breaching, and all of the players either on the top floor, but then later on the middle floor, it's hard to push in when all you have is hopping in through that window 1 by 1. So an incredibly competitive game so far. Los now moving to their attacking side. And in a team that has certainly left a lot to be desired from the coordination department in their game yesterday. We'll see how they manage to improve on Night Haven.
Yeah, now it's down to Los to try and make some changes here for the offense as well. See if they can potentially find a couple more rounds than Oxygen here. And the wildest thing about that half was it's really just, what you and Fox were essentially talking about. A lot of the strategy for Oxygen being very heavy-handed as they try and take some big gunfights with these talented players. Whereas Los, yeah, the strategy not working out all of the time, Carter. It folded quite a few times, but when it was able to stand the test of time, right, that was the biggest thing. We saw them able to make the most out of some rounds, especially with some strong positioning, and that's how we've gotten to this 3-3 half. So really playing into exactly what our analyst desk was getting at.
Yeah, and after all, in the Luminosity game, their better side was actually on the attack. So maybe here we see something crazy happen, and Fox with that Los prediction that Gabe so rudely disregarded.
Straight up.
It was, I gotta say, there were gasps. There were gasps when Gabe said no to that Los prediction. It was shocking.
Can I just say, just real quick, I love the fact that we have those two as a duo. Down with Jesse J. Chick, happy as a caster again, because I can just mute that, that just makes my life a lot easier. And plus with Parker, double duty right there. I mean, come on. But it's been great, man. Love having those two on the desk.
There's not even a bit there. No sarcasm. I mean, there was. I mean, I guess
There
was
was
a bit.
that was steeped.
I guess there was a bit. I don't know.
Yeah.
I try to
Well,
focus on the positivity.
I'm always positive. I don't know what
That's
you're
a
getting
lie.
at.
That's a lie. Anyway, as you can see, something very positive.
I can't get anything past you, can I?
We've talked a lot about shotguns on the attack, and specifically when it comes to Deimos, but Sexy Cake on that Grim has brought the French shotgun to try to acquire quick control of this generator area. He's able to push one defender out, but just because OXG leave the position does not mean they are done contesting it. They've got the close angle, and also this C4 lineup over the wall onto the terrace breach.
Oh.
The Wizard able to duck in and dodge it entirely, but that mirror window in his way is still going to be a problem. Los recreating similar steps from OXG's first round on the attack. Sure, some control right next to the site, but we need to start seeing some success from other angles for this to work out. And it's instead OXG to fight back, but Los answers soon after.
And weapon prioritization here for Los as well. That shotgun inside of electrical could be huge, but it'll get cleaned out from Arthur instead. And Los, with this cool, calm, and collected clear, working its way in from the logistics side, or rather the electrical side, as well as the terrace area. It's looking very well done from them so far. They've been able to carve out all of B. More than likely have a very safe space to be able to put down this case now. And from that moment in time, for a second there, I thought it was Legacy that accidentally fell down, but it was not. So the case is still going to go down, but another player might be trying to make a rotate up this blue stairwell, and that's exactly what's happening. Wizard with a big kill, Yaga with a trade. Now it's down to just a 1 versus 3.
1 versus 2. He's able to land the next headshot. IQ on 2 HP. Is that the one close on the diffuser as well? Oh, she drops down, is able to watch the case from below. But again, this player is extremely low HP, and right now, whether Yaga knows it or not, it's a 1v1 on this top floor. He pushes on through. The ace is watching the other way. Oh, but some noise made. Does he react in time? Legacy able to turn and get the final kill to get Los their first round on this attack.
Well done from Los there. Knew exactly what they wanted, and the strategy working out magnificently. All of that pressure working its way in, especially from the terrace area or connector, whatever you guys call it, as well as electrical working its way in from Los there. That's really what just starts to discombobulate the site. A lot of them start to get distracted with those angles, and then we start to see Legacy working his way in from IT. That IT door, as well as the garage angle that we see, that's one of the most important areas to exploit when it comes to this top floor, because it has all of these cross angles. You see Arthur's able to work his way in, see where they're positioned on this side. Unless you're perfectly positioned behind that pillar there, Carter, you're more than likely going to get punished. And that's exactly what we see. He opens up that entire area of the site, and it makes it easy pickings from Los there and, into the future.
See what happens now. Los, obviously, a lot of that success coming from the IT breach, the IT section overall, as you just mentioned. But as OXG spread further out on the site, how will Los be able to deal with that? A Vigil and a Solus in play on this basement defense. So OXG spread far and wide on the first and the second floor. Depending on how Los react, maybe we'll see them coordinate around one player, try to rush the site quickly. A lot of options available, but if they buy into this roam, and OXG keep that mechanical skill strong, Solus in one direction and Boss G in the other, not exactly something I would like to step foot in the middle of in round 8.
Only 30 seconds burnt off the clock so far, and the Vigil's back in play here for Gomez. We'll have the Boss G2. Something that, I've even had to grow to love. It was something that for a very long time I was completely against. If you were not playing the K1A, you're trolling. But I had one of my own finally sand me down enough, Carter, where I'm more accepting now of the Boss G and what it can do. Especially since it's basically more of a sniper than Kali in this game. They're essentially the same thing as long as you hit the chest, right? So it's pretty great, especially when you put it that way on a roamer that can hide away from drones and stuff like that. Especially with that secondary option with the SMG-12, just makes for a banger of a kit and something that we'll see Gomez try and use a little bit later on. But let's talk about Legacy, because that was just a little nasty.
Oh, all right. Gomez, unfortunately, the SMG-12, probably not the best gun to fight through those vertical bars. OXG struggling to fight back against this full clear from Los, up 5-3. Only quite a bit of substantial damage done to the Ram, but that Boss G, 2 shots go wide, and I don't think do a single iota of damage to a member on the attack. 3K for a member of Los. DS might find one, might find 2. Might find two just hiding behind the vending machine. But Los can reset. They got a minute. What they don't have? Diffuser is now in Diaz's possession. If Los face check this, it could be problematic, but Sexy Cake's able to peek him when the sight is covering the angle he peeks from. 5v3 now for Los, or 5-3, to be grammatically correct, as they are one round away from getting match point.
Now, when we say Rainbow Six Siege is a game of inches and sometimes centimeters, that's exactly what we mean. It's just the housing of the hollow site is what prevents him from knowing that that man is shooting him in the face.
Well,
That
also
is
looking a different direction, to be fair. I took a bit of editorial license with that call, but
I mean, you know, I peer reviewed it and I thought that you were right. So hey, that's what it was.
Right.
You know,
that was a good keeping with the academia theme there. I appreciate that.
you're welcome. You're welcome. I try and stay on topic most of the time. Anyways, Oxygen with a timeout. Speaking of staying on topic, and I think this is a great call right here. We talked about it in the last game, Carter. I'm not here to beat dead horses, but you know, it's 6-3. You want to use your timeout at some moment in time, and if you betrayed me with your production.
They got you so good, bro.
They got me so good.
They got you.
Oh, they got me so good, Carter. They did.
I know. You thought 5-3-2, you saw the screen, you're like, oh, it's fine.
It took my eyes glazed over for a second. I just became part of the hive mind.
Would you believe me if I said I paid them?
Attackers need to locate bomb.
Maybe for a second. But I know you. You're not doing that, you cheapskate.
Yeah, that's true. But you do make a good point. Like, it's the only time to take a timeout at this point. Los are... They struggled to win a game last stage. They got very, very close quite a few times, but they still struggled to do it, even in best of ones. And OXG, who are down 0-1 right now, they're hiding it.
Hat?
They're hiding it.
Are those walls reinforced, or are they just going to have somebody else come and do these?
That's a fair point, actually. It is an odd spot to hide now.
10 seconds left.
You know what? I'm just going to let them rock, and we'll just see what happens.
So are they? So I mean, I suppose if they really are just going to leave those unreinforced, right? I mean, they still got 3 reinforcements, so they could do it if they wanted to. But if they leave those unreinforced, you would just leave the clash there, just try to like.
Yeah. That's the only way it works out, right? I mean, there's literally nothing else you do. Otherwise, you're just giving up free territory. So it's got to be hat.
Hey, camera guy, can we check the IT breaches? can we check the IT walls?
Yeah, somebody get a guy on this.
Can I get a wide shot on the IT breach? Oh, it's reinforced now. Okay.
I'm so proud of Oxygen.
It was because to be fair, we've seen people hide on that top floor before. There was that famous like Oryx play that happened, I think, in like Southeast Asia, or maybe it was Manchester. I can't remember, but they hit the Oryx behind the bomb chassis. They didn't hide him in IT, so it's a bit of a different position than we normally see.
Well, I'm thinking of hiding people. It was no. That was at SI this year because I casted that.
Was it SI? That's what I thought.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it was
Well,
SI. It was in Brazil. Yeah.
It was a Southeast Asian team though, because it was Fury.
It was I9. That's who did it.
Shout out.
Yep. Shout out I9. The
I9.
goat, the boy.
And so far, not a lot of goated work from Los, but certainly some important work nonetheless. They've opened up both of the breaches. IT and connector wall opened up. OXG playing very, very close inside of the bomb site. Probably just trying to position Hat wherever the attack is strongest to try and stall as much time as possible.
Yeah, most definitely. And I think that's a really good strategy here from Oxygen. They kind of need to go back to the fundamentals here, you know, have still that aggression, but just calculated aggression, things that you really care about, fight for those, try and keep some bodies up and, excuse me, at least some crossfires to try and assist with that as well. And that's really what we're looking for here. We want Oxygen to play this one a little bit closer to the chest, especially with the clash on the board, and try and make the most of it.
And so long as they can effectively navigate this skeleton key and these death mark trackers from below, while of course obviously not availing to themselves to angles on the second floor as well, they should be quite good. Gomez able to get a kill on Farius early on, so OXG getting that advantage. All the more incentive to play quiet now. Yaga down below. Gomez also low on health, but Newers with the drive-by. Able to catch Sexy Cake on the retreat. Hat playing aggressive, but he can back up pretty easily. Legacy blasted against the generator right there. 5v1 for OXG on their more conservative defense.
And this is what we wanted to see. We wanted to see them try and get into their groove of just, standard defense in Rainbow Six. You want the offense to come to you. You want to try and work those angles up closer to sight and just lean back on your strategy. And I think they did a bang up job of that, especially with the clash coming into play from Hat. I think it was a great call here from Oxygen to try and slow things down, play some of these shotties, play some of these shields, and just see how Los are going to react. They, luckily enough, got a big pick early on, and not only that, but a really nice find there from Newers as he gets insanely aggressive on that hallway. But that's a key thing about, audio when you're at home, folks. You can just hear a lot better. I mean, when you're at LAN and all of y'all are screaming at the top of your lungs, it makes life a little harder on these pros.
A little bit harder for Los now. Only one round separating them between them and their opponents. She obviously still got to fight on the back foot. They've won second floor, but other sites have not been successful. The basement wasn't, but they haven't tried supply yet. So that's where they will go. We obviously seen, and as I think most people at this point, with Nighthaven being in pro play for a bit now understand, you're going to defend quite a bit of the second floor up here. The method might change, but the overall geography around which you want to locate yourself is quite similar. I think the big thing we'll see here is the mirror windows placed on the top floor. We saw one placed on top of Aqua Stairs to look likely all the way through both big rooms on that second floor. And I don't think Los will care. Fuse Shield and Blitz in through the supply window. There's a barricade in the way, so nobody from Garage can actually support. There's a rotate hole. Gomez able to find 2 kills on the tips of the spear for Los. Fuse Shield, Blitz Shield down, and Diffuser down. Cold and alone in supply. All that for nothing.
Well, we praised their offenses from yesterday, saying that it was their better side, and so far, Oxygen have actually been the one to stump them the hardest. And for Los, we're going to have to try and see some magic here now, as they've lost 2 players cleanly. Not even a trade, really. Well, they do have DS down. Still trying to get used to this new HUD, so just give me here. Give me a minute here. But at a bare minimum, Auction's still well within their right to be in the driver's seat here, especially with their positioning on this top floor. Love the build-up over towards the blue stairs. Los with a lot of headway to try and work with.
Yeah, I mean, how do you deal with those mirror windows? How are you able to try and claw back this advantage with the entirety of the defense's setup still relatively intact? Farius could be big. The Dokkaebi call goes out, and Dokkaebi, one of the most prolific lurking operators in the game, but OXG just have the manpower to watch these angles, but the shot's not hitting. Newer has gotten the better of by Farius, now quickly moving to recover this diffuser. A trade actually happens, and with the barricade still up, there's only one way that OXG could peek from: this rotate hole right here. If Los can rotate around, get a player watching it while somebody else gets the diffuser down, maybe they have something. But Yaga rotates around too, able to find the angle onto Wizard. So with the plant stopped, only one gun available. Legacy so far out of position, he cannot help the Flores right now. So much health lost. Rotate around. Legacy moves further in to try to watch the close doorway, but Hat could easily peek out and not be seen until it's too late. One Malusi spotted, tagged up, one player dealt with. Now just hold the passive angle. No need to peek as the diffuser goes down. Will they hop out? How far will they go? It'll take them to match point. 6 rounds on the board for Los. Just one away from one of their only victories in the NAL this year.
Oh, man, I got so scared there, Carter. As soon as we saw that plant going down without Legacy making that rotation in time, I was so worried that Oxygen was going to get that big frag and end up just knocking the case cold on the ground. But instead, he's able to rotate out of that position, keep himself barely alive at 9 HP. And not only that, able to stick that plant and give them that moment where Oxygen still has to try and take these gunfights and shut this entire situation down. But they're just not capable this time around. Instead, it's all Legacy with some big kills here onto Oxygen to push them onto map and match point.
Only one victory last stage that I think came about halfway or in the back half of the stage. If they're able to match that same scoreline early on, not saying Los will have a dramatic improvement from the previous one, but you'll certainly be feeling a lot better. And the warning signs might be sirening for OXG. Not necessarily that it's all doom and gloom, but that there might be some greater things to work on going into week 2, especially if you lose this in regulation. As Gabe mentioned, it's laxing, people who aren't friends with him like I am.
We're friends, so I go by his first name.
Exactly. Los are not exactly known for having an incredibly strong map pool. I mean, it's kind of funny. Los, the previous iteration, before, you know, they moved to North America, but also this version as well, not exactly, I think, really a well-respected Nighthaven team, mostly just because they've struggled so much to gain victories on even the few maps that they do play. But able to get a win here, sure, it might be good info for teams, but certainly don't feel bad for OXG. But for Los trying something new out, it will be very, very nice to go home and have this feather in your cap if they can win one more round and close this out in regulation. It's been a close game so far, Sam, but OXG got to win 2 in a row.
And that's the thing. In this home stretch right here, Los has made the most of it. Yeah, Oxygen have been able to battle back on this defensive side, but Los, they've brought things to bear. It's now down to crunch time, and Oxygen have to run practically a perfect 2-minute drill in order to make this happen. They need 2 back-to-back rounds, and they need them to be very successful. They do not want these to come down to the wire. It needs to be something considerable. And as of right now, they've done at least a good job of delaying things, but Gomez, he's going to take a little bit of heat. That pressure check will force him back over towards Electrical as Los continue to get the job done around the map, just completing their tasks as they're working their way towards this basement site.
Unfortunately, that Boss G didn't really pay off when Gomez brought it back in round 8. Not a whole lot of substantial damage done to members of Los in that previous round, at least by that Boss G. Obviously, Legacy 15-6 at the moment, down to 22 health, so a good player to soften up. The only one actually, well, sorry, not the only one positive. Wizard is 7-6, but the only one positive by any margin greater than 1. Looking quite good. But Los have already made their way down to the bottom floor. They've moved their way just outside of the bomb site. And with the mirror window cracked, Various all the way in, they've got the breach angle as well. We need to see a reaction from OXG. A C4 maybe, but Diaz sends it out so late and far too away. The diffuser goes down successfully, but we're stuck in the 3v3. Hat trying to retake, but Wizard with the kill. Sexy K can play this close angle, and Wizard can hold above. Hat might be able to take down the player inside of the site, but there's a crossfire across 2 different floors and 2 different angles. He'll go for the defuse, but on such low HP, just one bullet will be enough for Los to get their 2nd victory in the North American League this year.
Wow. Very well done from Los. And really, it comes down to just their ability and knowledge of this map. They knew exactly what they needed and what was necessary to try and get that plant down in the corner there. And it goes off with flying colors. Some huge kills there. And not only that, but the utility response from Oxygen. It's there, but it doesn't do anything. It damages the planter, but they're not actually able to stem the bleeding. And that's the biggest thing there for Oxygen. Yeah, they're able to get a lot of kills when it matters and when it comes down to these gunfights, but Los, they out-strategized them here when it came to Nighthaven Labs.
And the start for OXG could not be more opposite than the one we had last stage so far, down 0-2, 2 regulation losses, and a worse one than the one we saw yesterday. Fox is feeling real good coming after this break.
Damn.
For just the 2nd time this stage, the Brazilian squad in the North American League have managed to come overseas and grab a win in a different region. Congratulations to them for pulling it off. They beat Space Station Gaming back in Stage 1 and have had to wait a long time to get another win just as meaningful in a regular round robin. For OXG, you now have to stomach the reality that you were the team that gave Los their 2nd ever NAL win, and I'm not sure they're going to be thinking about that because that map just wasn't it.
I am extremely disappointed, obviously picking Oxygen to win that. I mean, you know, this is everything that we talked about. It just looked like in some situations they did have an idea of what they wanted to do, and then in others, especially on those defenses, I mean, it was very shocking to see how some of those defenses actually playing out, especially how that last round ended.
I mean, disappointment can't really explain or paint the full picture, especially from us really building this team from the ground up to see to where it's become now. Of course, the season's not over, but obviously when you're put in these positions and you don't really see much change and it just continuously gets worse and worse, as being an analyst to have to watch it from an outside point of view, it's very difficult to see it and just not understand what the ideology is behind it at all. But on the other side of things, Los was a really great game. It looked like their attacks were super fast. And the only reason that they were losing the defenses to make a 3-3 split was because they were contesting OXG. The gunfights were going in OXG's favor at first, back and forth.
Yeah. I mean, Legacy, that kid just absolutely showed up today. I don't know if you heard the pregame stuff that we were talking about, me saying that their map pool wasn't that strong. Legacy, it's nothing personal. I'm glad you did what you had to do today to get it done, but he was an animal in the lobby.
16 kills to just 7 deaths for that man. He only had his rookie stage back in stage 1 alongside Farius, but he was one dude we immediately knew. There was a reason that they brought him all the way from Brazil to come up to Vegas to play in North America, and he really showed up today. And to your point, we now know that maybe they're a better Nighthaven team than we gave them credit for before.
Yeah, and we spoke about it before the game. Well, specifically me, I said, listen, on a map like this, attack is where you're going to win because the attacks, you need to be coordinated. You need to make sure you're paying attention to the time clock. And I said, before the game started, I think Los is currently a better attacking team. And what'd you do? You spit in my face. You spit in my face and you said, no, that's wrong. But look who's right. And it sucks because, you know, I hate to be right in this situation and see how far OXG has fallen. But it is nice to see that Los, despite their stage 1 start, their efforts are still high and they're still performing very well.
And listen, I'm okay with being wrong. Like I said from the get-go of talking about Los to begin with, I want to see them. They need to show me proof that they're improving, and this is an exact form and display of how they're doing it. So I'm cool with being wrong. I like being able to go against you. Sure, I don't necessarily like losing to him, but it is what it is. That's the point of being an analyst.
Seems like you're doing a lot of it because I think as of right now, Fox, are you still 100% over the 6 games you played in Stage 2 so far? I don't think you've lost one yet.
No, I have not lost one, and everything that I've said, painting the pictures of every team has also been
To be fair,
correct.
you were going to swap, and I said, just keep your pick.
No, that is true. I was like, there's no, not to hate Los, but I was like, there's no way, right? Like, let me wait until I see the map. And then I was like, yeah, I'll keep it. I really do believe in the Los roster. And I'm glad I believed in them because when the sides swapped, those Los attacks were just so nice. Mind you, OXG just kept trying to throw their bodies at it and fix the problem with bullets, and Los was ready for it. They didn't let it happen, and also, they had their own bullets. Legacy was so good at shutting down everyone from OXG.
Nostradamus on the couch over here. Someone might need to pay him to stop predicting their teams to win because at some point, I think it might catch up to him. We don't get the chance to talk to the Brazilians very often, but when we do, it's always a pleasure. We have Sexy Cake on the line. Brother, congratulations on your first win of Stage 2. It's wonderful to finally introduce you to the NAL interviews. So congrats on the win, but talk to me about how it's been from Stage 1 until now, finally getting another dub on the board.
Well, hello guys, first of all, and thanks for the words on our win. I know we didn't show much last stage, so I know the hate that everyone is like saying about us and everything that happens. We just are here to show that we can improve and can do better. I thank you, Fox, for cheering for us this game.
I got you.
I was hearing what you were saying, and yeah, man, it's been a rough year for us. We changed the lineup. Now we feel more like confident to play and more happy. We just enjoyed the game. Like yesterday, we did like 3 attacks. When we went to defense, we like couldn't talk with each other, figured things out, and it's okay for us. We were losing, we were laughing. So, like, we need to play like that, like to have a moment for us, because it's a little rough playing here and now. Not because of things, but the other things out of context.
For sure. Well, I got a question for you. I think you have Legacy on the wrong roles, honestly. Like, he's playing a support role, but
really,
I mean, from what I saw, it looked like he was just entering, taking every gunfight. So I'm confused that he have to be on the entry at this point.
So Legacy is our tiny little monster, and he's really good at punishing people doing some mistakes,
that
like
goes without saying.
Yeah. So like, he showed us what he can do today, and Oxygen didn't choose the best method to play against, and he was just taking advantage of that.
Absolutely.
That's great. I mean, I'm glad you brought up the map. Just walk us through. Obviously, we haven't seen much from your guys' map pool, the maps that you did play last stage. Obviously, you know what happened then. Now going forward with your guys' map pool, specifically, what draw you guys towards Nighthaven against OXG?
So we knew that they played like 3 labs, and one was against SSG that doesn't like this map, and one it's SSG Academy. Both they won, so we said like, okay, it's not like the one, and we're gonna play labs. It was just we already knew it. So
I got one more question for you. What is the biggest difference that we're gonna see with this new Los roster that we didn't get to see from last stage?
I think we're pretty much like really better than last stage, just because we had like some time to prepare. Because last stage we went here with a week.
Yeah.
The team had a week, like we didn't have map pool, we didn't have nothing, and it was like really rough. We played like 15 clubhouses. Nobody was like, oh my god, I don't want to play this map anymore, but we couldn't do anything. And like we come here more prepared. Now we had the time to prepare, and I think this just help us a lot. You know,
For sure.
We had a 1 week team, and now we had a 3-month thing. It's different.
Absolutely.
It's looking a lot better. One more question for you. When you won your one game against Space Station Stage 1 that happened on Playdate 4, now you've gotten your first win of the stage and it's happening on Playdate 2. How much more does it mean that this team is gelling on very, very quickly, especially by comparison to when you got your first win last stage?
It's what I already said. We came more prepared, and like we're having fun, and that's what's better for us. And we just need to show that we can do, and it's this. We just having fun with the game. We like each other very much, so we just like to play Siege, man.
Well, you got on your ladder and you're back on the uphill climb at this point. Sexy Geek, again, congratulations. It's wonderful to finally get you on for the interview. We'll see you next week, dude. Take care. Los did it, man. Los did it.
It's important to like your teammates, as he said. That is definitely a key factor
I'm really
of success
glad
for
that
any team.
even though it's a
have to
team
like your teammates.
and not a family, at least you like your teammates.
Yeah.
At least that's working.
I like
for me.
Fox.
So I liked you too. I mean, so far, every team that's enjoying their vibes outside of the game. I know that was a big thing for us on Reciprocity into OXG, is always enjoying the time that you're playing. And then we see teams like Luminosity, C9BC.
NBC. I told you it was going to get you eventually.
Knew that was going to trip you up at some point.
These teams that are having so much fun playing together just makes the whole experience better. And if you watch anything from the OXG player cams, it looked like they were having fun in the first 2 rounds as well. But the biggest issue with them is, especially after losing Dream, it looks like there's nobody on the team that is really that talkative. If you know the players, I guess you could say that Newers is the most talkative on the team, but when it comes to things on the back end and calling strats, New is so good individually that you don't want to put the pressure of calling the shots specifically on his shoulders. But you can see it in the player cams from OXG that when they start losing at a deficit, the comms cut out, the fun falls away, and that's just unfortunate to see.
And I think it's important that everyone should be able to be that X factor to step it up and bring everyone back together and have fun again. And when you can't have that, I mean, yeah, you do look at those player cams and it's pretty much just a dead face and just get into the next round or get into the end of the game.
So OXG are now in the pit with Wildcard about being teams that still have yet to find a win through the first week. They will have next week to go and try to get themselves out of that pit. Meanwhile, for Los, they're up there in 1-1 and currently trying to be on the mend from where they were in Stage 1. Coming up next, it's our main event. Even though it's only Game 3, it's finally happening. The heavyweight title fight between Dark Zero and Sonics coming up next.
It's total calamity, total mayhem inside of the server. Out of nowhere, they find their round back into their favor.
Holding up for the blood, the wave! And I think he might just find it!